Welcome back. We have a session called Own Your App Transformation Destiny coming up with Luis and Matt from Deloitte. So take it away, Luis and Matt.
Welcome, Spring 1 2020. My name is Luis Benavides, and I'm joined by my co-host here, Matt Wood.
Hey, everybody.
So a little bit about ourselves. I am a managing director here in the firm, and I co-lead our hybrid cloud practice, specialize in particular around clients that are looking to take advantage of their VMware skills and tool sets and capabilities and moving to the cloud. Matt, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey. So my name is Matt Wood. I'm a senior manager here at Deloitte. I focus on go-to-market activities in the hybrid cloud space, managing a variety of partners and go-to-market, specifically focused right now around Dell Tech, VMware, Pivotal, and all of the kind of business units under the Dell Tech umbrella. And most importantly, I'm here to heckle Luis today as he gives his presentation.
Sounds perfect. So with that said, as far as this session goes, we really wanted to go talk about how can we create some cost savings for the business and allow that to be forms of self-funding investment to try to drive some of the innovation. So taking a step back to that, this is a really interesting time period that we're all facing. Clearly, there's economic pressures that so many of our clients are all facing, so many companies today and individuals. But from a innovation standpoint, I think that's an interesting thing, right? We've seen where this has been disrupted because of this, because it was a bit unexpected, but also there's a need to service clients and customers, in a different manner than maybe what was done before. Right, you think about mobile experiences and tele video experiences where, that may have not been the case if you could actually physically interact with your direct customer. So things like that are creating new challenges that you have to not only be able to find ways to save dollars, but then also quickly reinvest in, because you need to be able to go create revenue today. So with that, around what we've seen around cloud in the market. Is that shift where typically most of the engagements may have been around adopting these new cloud native technologies or moving to containers, and those were a lot of the innovative kind of new projects that clients were moving forward with, and that has definitely changed, or other areas maybe they had more security concerns and they're not exploring that anymore. The need to go keep the lights on or find dollar investments is actually creating this shift where we're seeing so many more opportunities around mass migration. And, with that, there's definitely some new capabilities in the market that weren't available, even just a couple of years ago. But, that also creates change in the organization. And what are you going to be able to do to support if the cost saving measure is to move to the cloud, or are you ready for that and understanding your talent and skills, but also operational capabilities, and how does that move along with this, or what's the impact to that? And that's where what we have around some of our answers today that we'll show you is how we exactly address those kind of client needs. And I think pre-COVID time period and pandemic, we've we've all kind of taken similar approaches as far as the journey to the cloud, where you start with a phase where we look at the business case, we do a lot of analysis, try to come up with a multi-year, kind of a perfect plan as far as getting there, and then go execute against that plan. And then the eventuality is have the operational change come along with that. You add all that up, like I said, it's usually a multi-year journey to get there and to go achieve some of the benefits, or at least the end result benefit that you're trying to get to over that time period.
And I think
that's go ahead, Matt.
Right, and we all have balance sheets that are turning upside down with the current market. The CapEx versus OpEx is a conversation. Looking at cost optimization, you don't have time to analyze and business case and roadmap things to death. You have to move, and you have to pull cash out, and you have to be able to self-fund initiatives in a very short period of time. So that's really, the crux of where this approach comes from, is the level of urgency that we're seeing in the market right now for those cash out initiatives to drive those transformative projects and approaches is more urgent than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, and I think that the cloud native approach, and what I mean by that is where you start with, say, a portfolio of about 5 to 10% of your applications that you're going to go refactor into the cloud, and then you work backwards from there to those that are maybe going to re-platform to leverage some native PaaS services, and then back to those that aren't going to make those kind of a change, and they're going to go to the native compute option, to eventually those that just aren't going to move because it may be too costly or other ROI that's not very clear. And then that's kind of been the typical path as far as how to get there. And what we're really talking about is flipping that a bit, where we're actually starting with or identifying the applications that are going to best suit move to the cloud and get the big gains that are going to come from alleviating the need for buying additional equipment or dealing with tech refreshes or data center lease expansions, and getting those environments bulk migrated to the cloud. And as you can see there from the slide of this brownfield move, but then take advantage of the cost savings there and allow that to drive the transformation. At the same time, also picking some of those applications that are gonna provide that ROI out of the gate. And this is really what we've seen as far as the shift in approaches as far as getting to the cloud, combined with the economic pressures that our clients are facing.
And to be clear, right, this is spring one. We're not suggesting not to go cloud native. We absolutely want people to modernize and to transform their application portfolios. But in a time when cost takeout is so key, you can leverage the relocate and some of the brownfield migration savings to actually fund those greenfield, exciting new development areas on the cloud native side. So I just want to be clear. We're not suggesting that you shouldn't go cloud native. It's definitely like to Luis's point at the top, it's an and, not an or.
Yeah, and with that, there's three pillars that you'll see through this presentation around time to implementation, where we have an advantage of speed with this type of bulk migration move and this capability that's being enabled, to also reducing those costs that we just said around being able to get to the cloud and create the self-funding from those savings, and also the risk, where your operation playbooks, these kind of things can come along. You can also modernize at your own pace. You can deal with compliance and just verification versus having to go through revalidation. All those are definitely elements around making this type of change to go cloud native that we're enabling, again, at your own pace. So with that, the solution that we're building upon is the VMware Cloud offering. In this slide here, you can see VMware Cloud on AWS, but clearly VMware Cloud is now available on every single cloud provider out there in the market. For those of you that aren't familiar, this allows you to move your VMware infrastructure, your VMware Cloud foundations, running it natively on the global infrastructure of that cloud provider. And this enables us to alleviate a lot of those data center expenses that come along with operating there, or for some clients that maybe are looking to do things like DR or expand as far as some of the use cases. But really, you also could get to not only take advantage of the platform and the infrastructure itself, but also the services that are available to you, where you can also really unlock a lot of those cost savings even a step further. And those benefits that you see there versus what you may be facing from a advisor around just going with all cloud native, that's going to take more time and resources to get there and just impact to the business. So there's a lot of benefits by going in this direction of a migrate then modernize approach, as far as to unlock the savings and then eventually the investments for modernization. So what does that really look like? One of the advantages that we have here is speed. And when you're facing any type of migration, you have this period of time called a double bubble, where I have my on-premises environments and I have my cloud environments, and I'm having to not only pay for both of those, but I have to operate in both worlds. I have to continue through the migration process. It's not until I can actually start decommissioning the legacy environment to where those hard dollar savings come in. So what you're seeing here is about a 3 to 5 times faster move than any cloud native type of migration, leveraging the VMware technologies. And that's also resulting into roughly about a 50% lower cost to achieve in order to get to the cloud. So the real impact of that is I don't have to put out nearly as much dollars out to go get to the cloud, but I'm also achieving these benefits in a far faster time period to where the end result are those hard dollar savings that you're seeing there. Those are real dollars back. If we can save you $100 million, it may come from this type of migration where we can alleviate a lot of those expenses that you have from the on-premises world. And then there's room still to get additional savings by either going cloud native or looking at other areas like around tax that we'll address a little bit later. But then again, it opens up a lot more possibility in that sense.
And I just want to reiterate that was 3 to 5 times faster and 50% cheaper. And we've seen this, in dozens of clients now. Like the business case holds up. So again, like we'd love for you to test us out on this hypothesis. This is definitely one that we continue to see proven in the market, and would love to have that kind of conversation, specifically. This is kind of one of the eye-popping charts that people go, wait, too good to be true? Like, really? But it truly is, right?
Yeah, and part of the reason why it's faster and less expensive to get there, it's a straight shot. As you can see from any of the other options here, where you have to take a different process in order to get there and convert the application to go run in the cloud. This is VMware to VMware move. Again, it's about taking advantage of this type of speed and low disruption to the business, and then being able to go quickly get to now you can go focus on things like ROI that are going to come through that modernization effort.
One thing too that we run in here sometimes, Luis, right? We get the, am I paying a tax to run VMware on a cloud, right? Like why wouldn't I just go cloud native? And I think we just showed a bunch of examples of you're not changing your security posture. You don't have to test your application as rigorously because you're not changing the actual op model or the application itself. You don't have to reskill your people on new tools. So plus you can go fast and it's cheaper. So you put all that together, and whether you think that there may be a perception in licensing cost or something like that, the savings, and to your point on this slide, the speed to which you can do this vastly outnumber the quote unquote perceived tax or cost.
Yeah, I think the one area that in speaking with the cloud providers out there, I think everyone agrees this is the fastest way to get to the cloud. I think they're starting to understand that this is also the lowest cost way to get to the cloud. And then the only other argument from there is, well, what does it really cost to run? To what Matt just said, and I think that's where, as the technologies are improving for the host systems that are solving for this, so far from what we've seen, neutral. Almost every single time we're seeing a cost advantage here for this solution, right? So you combine all those things together. And if you're saving money, then I think this also means it's likely going to be a pillar or one of the main components as far as your overall and strategy, right? That means you're going to use multiple landing zones for your applications. So we'll get to that in a little bit here. But Matt, just to reiterate here, these are some of the proof points that we have that we've seen from other clients. In this case here, one that's an estimate of about 17,000 VMs. Any points you want to call out here?
How quick do you want to get out of your data center or move your workloads, right? In this case, it's 5 years or 1 year. That's the difference in velocity that we're talking about. So 3 to 5x, it's very substantial, which means then all of that time saved and that effort saved and that double bubble saved is money to go fund, more strategic, transformational and modernization activities.
Yep. So with that said, this particular graphic, right, came from one of our client engagements that we've seen out there in the market, where the client had that type of mindset. We're going to get to the cloud, we're going to go modernize, and this is going to be a 3-year, 5-year type journey. Pretty much every conversation, right? We've had that kind of nature of dialogue, and like I said, they start with this cloud native approach, and it may not seem logical at first, but this is actually a faster way to go adopt and gain that state that you're trying to get to as far as native adoption. So you're leveraging the all the advantages that we've been calling out on the bulk migration side. But now that you're there in the cloud, again, you could modernize at your own approach. And what's going to end up happening, or we've seen happen time and time and again, is you're actually getting more comfortable with the cloud and operating there much faster. You're identifying applications that are going to benefit from building upon the platform of the VMware environment that are going to unlock some of those other features to take advantage of the native services in cloud. You're going to be adopting the cloud much in probably greater volume faster than trying to start with a big transformation through migration type of approach that we've seen time again in the market, and that's where we're seeing this type of wave approach to be picking up much more speed. So with that said, there are a lot of different options out there, right? This is one method. I think what we're arguing is that this is a great way to get a bulk move to the cloud, as well as having one of the options at the table, right? And I think this is where you need to take a look at those advantages. As you can see there's a lower cost to get there. There's an ROI and the savings that we've been talking about. But then you have your other R's, and you need to really look at workload by workload and applications as far as how to make the decision on which of these to choose. Just understand that the VMware Cloud option provides us the lowest risk, the fastest time, and less change as far as getting to the cloud out of all those options out there. So this is something we do with our clients through we look at this and model, meaning it's VMC and these other platforms, these other landing zones. And we help our clients make this decision by analyzing those applications and finding those hotspots that are going to be those applications best suited for taking advantage of things like serverless or native containers or PaaS services, and kind of working your way backwards from there. But you have a big segment of applications that maybe wouldn't have been considered to move to the cloud that now can move. Say they have a hard-coded IP address. That's a pretty big bucket, and we're finding that VMC environment to solve for that is equating for about 20 to 40% of that public cloud adoption. And then on the same time, on the on-premises side, a lot of the applications that you're going to go modernize, they need to have that portability, and you have that portability clearly with VMware to VMware, but any of the other additional technologies you might go implement out there, obviously like Pivotal, now Tanzu, absolutely fit in that same portfolio as far as moving to a modern state.
One thing that I'd like to say on this slide, right, is we all know that politics and preference definitely come into play when picking a cloud or tools or whatever else, which is reasonable, and it's always going to be there. But it's always great to be able to bring data and dollars as far as the perspective of the why, right? Like what attributes, what data tells us that we should move this or do this to this particular application, and what are the economics, the dollars behind it. So then you also have kind of a CYA to the politics and preference that really makes your business case unstoppable.
Yeah, and on that economic view, right, that's the other lens that we take a look at this, where in this particular case, a client was facing, do I go through this tech refresh and deploy these modern systems on my physical infrastructure? Do I extend my data center lease, or do I look to move to the cloud now? And when we looked at this analysis, and you look at taking advantage of things like a multi-year model with a VMC for these applications, it's basically about a swing of about 66% TCO reduction versus the financial output that they were looking to put out there. But again, it creates that opportunity to go reinvest much faster, and these are reasons why they're picking up more speed in the cloud than they would if they followed a traditional path. So with that, that's where we're seeing this way to go get to a modernization state is leveraging this type of bulk migration move and the operational change that has to come along with this, and then going and looking at, okay, what are the landing zones, what are the way that we're going to go set out this modernization approach with this and strategy, and coming in with that actually in the second phase, or in parallel to that. And all of that really ends up resulting in that we have a clear ROI, we have clear decisions, clear technologies on what to expect as we move to transformation. And we're working on that more in right after basically the bulk migration is over. So, year one, even you could begin some of these modernization efforts not year 3, year 4, or 5. So this is how we're accelerating the journey. And again, the other 2 points are building upon that VMC platform. Don't look at it just as a migration option, but I can leverage things like Tanzu now on VMC for applications that still need to call upon middleware or databases and have that reliance. Or I can address things like the data side, where maybe I use a data warehouse native from the cloud, and I don't make the big change to my applications. So I think the options out there for buy applications have changed than they were just a few months ago and clearly years ago. So you really need to rethink your cloud strategy around how you can leverage these type of benefits to get to those economic savings, and then also again around your overall modernization approach to the cloud. And then one of the other points again that we don't tend to think about all the time is that the tax savings that can come along with this. Being able to depreciate your one-time cloud expenses as far as the services cost to go get there that you may need help with, or taking a look at things like research and development, where I may be able to write off a lot of these things. I think there's, even with the physical moves, if I still have some infrastructure that I'm going to have running in the colo because not everything's going to move to the cloud, that may have some state and local government tax incentives for you to make those kind of moves. So holistically, we can take a look at this from a lot of different angles, find ways that where the tax dollars can be either forms of investment that you can go put towards a modernization, or you can keep in the pocket as far as a bottom line impact of cost savings.
Thanks, Luis. And if we flip to the next slide, I know we only have about 3 minutes left. First off, on this slide, I just want to say, it's size 4 font, just to see if everybody's still awake. But also just to say, right, from a Deloitte perspective, if you take a digital lens to this, or you take a cloud and infrastructure lens, or you take an AppTx lens, we'd love to help you just kind of orient that, basically that approach. And hopefully what you're seeing today with our point of view, and all of these kind of different qualifications and services that we can bring to the table, there's a value there. Next slide, please, Luis. So where to start, right? So we have an accelerated way to basically start, whether it's at the infrastructure level, the business case level, the cloud kind of multi-cloud hybrid suitability level. Which R do you want to start with? Which part of the portfolio? It sounds like a lot of questions, but we can break it down in the bottom left-hand side. Here you see 1 day, 5 day, or kind of a full analysis. But we can get right to that cash kind of self-funding case really, really quickly. And if we go to the next slide, we'll break that down a little bit more. So here's some examples of the types of ways that we can kind of activate this self-funding business case engagement. We can start with literally a 1 or half day workshop, just to kind of start thinking about this larger picture and how to migrate to Modernize and take both sides of the coin. And then we can move into the level of analysis that's required to basically get everybody in your organization moving and making sure that you have the right business cases for your initiatives. And then Luis, next slide, please. So lastly, please join us for the Q&A. Test us out on these hypotheses, share your journey. Let's see if it kind of matches up to what we're seeing in the market. We welcome the conversation. We definitely see these value drivers as things that we can actively turn with and for you across risk, TCO, savings, innovation. You name it, these are definitely things that we focus on. And in fact, in some cases, Deloitte will even put a value-based, billing model in place that says we don't get paid until you see the results. So definitely things that we want to, put our money where our mouth is and make sure that you're seeing the value that we believe are in these offerings and solutions. So look forward to chatting with everybody during the Q&A. Luis, any closing remarks?
Yeah, the only thing to add to that is that the cloud providers have a lot of interest in this. They've all been investing into having their own solutions. Much of their, as far as what you see around the business case, we can work in hand with VMware, work in hand with the cloud provider, and helping you get to that business case, improving that and seeing the metrics around it, fairly quickly. as Matt pointed out. So yes, please feel free to join us for the Q&A, and also feel free to reach out. You can see our information is there, hybridcloud@deloitte.com. So you can talk to Matt and I and folks from our team.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.